Quit eating, folks, 30 seconds to showtime. Grab your seat, leave your drinks to the bar. Hold your breath, put your hands together. We present Stanford Bay's finest star, who has danced with the Mariner Kitty, who has dined with the Queen of Vermont. We trace the voyages of Sinbad, corresponded with the men who can't love us to be. C'est pas la même chose que la vache qui rit. Les vaches font mon ami.
And hello, welcome to another edition of the G Spot. My name is Geoff with the G, hence the G Spot. And today I'm talking with a good friend of mine who we've went international with this show now. So I have a really good friend of mine all the way from England, you know, where our history comes from. An amazing burlesque performer, Pinky Deville. How are you doing, Pinky?
Hiya, Geoff. I'm good, thanks. Are you? Thanks for having me on the show.
Of course, I greatly appreciate it because it's like the next day over there. We're like time traveling here, as far as people watching
right
it. So that's
is it 2 a.m.? I'm enjoying a nice cup of tea.
Yeah, like you do, and for I guess for English people, no, I enjoy a good cup of tea as well. So.
Yeah, I do. Oh no, I my blood is basically tea at this point.
This is kind of tea. It's whiskey, which rhymes with tea, so
It's the same color.
it's mostly that's how it works. So let me pull up, make sure I got my stuff right. All right, cool, that's running. So for everybody knows, Pinky Deville is a burlesque performer out of England, an amazing person. How we got to know each other was really interesting because we met back in 2018. I can even remember. In New Orleans, where as far as how it goes, and how it all started was our mutual friend, Vivacious Miss Audacious, who at the time was also not living in New Orleans, just happened to be there. It was her birthday weekend. I happened to be there time. It just happened chance, and I just went because you have my birthday like that. Like, all right, cool. I'll hang out for your birthday is what I told her, and she goes, all right, cool. We're going to a topless pool party. Do you want to go? And I go, yes. And so I showed up. That's how we ended up meeting. Is ended up chatting with you and a bunch of other burlesquers from over there, and we made fast friends. Really.
Yeah, because really nice. Was it also the same weekend as the Southern Sideshow Hootenanny?
That's correct. That's how that's why I was in New Orleans, was to go to the Southern Sideshow Hootenanny. And
because there was an after show event that I'd gone to that evening as well. I think. I can't remember, but it was definitely that same day.
Yeah, it was later in the evening. We basically it was went to the pool because it was Sunday. It was a Sunday. I can't even remember when because so we were going like that and Audacious. We're going, all right, cool. And I went, hey, Audacious, we got to go head over the thing. She goes, well, I go, I have an extra I'll let her be my +1 to the show. It was family night, and then afterwards at I want to say Siberia, there was something going on.
Yes. Yeah, I think Siberia was the official post Hootenanny
hangout spot. Yeah, it was between that and then the Cajuns, which is the karaoke bar, which was always the default. And I think the reason we went to Cajuns is because there's such an asshole door guard there that nobody was getting in unless you really wanted to get into the place, which was really weird.
Maybe being at Cajuns and just not even being able to get a drink. The bar was just crazy busy, and Siberia is on the streets.
Yeah. Because Cajuns it's a nice spot, but the problem is they I think they on their end they were smart about creating lines to go to the bar. The problem is the bar is huge, but you only have this one line you can go down to get drinks. And if it gets hopping in there, which is a karaoke bar, right in the right spot, so it's always it was always hopping. It just took a bit to get a drink. So I would it got to a point where me and my friends would always order basically do two fistings. So that way we'd have one. Basically, go, this one's done. Let me get back in line, and I'm sipping on my drink. By the time they get to the end of the line, all right, cool, I got my 2 more drinks. That's how it works. But no.
That sideshow weekend was brilliant though, because I got chatting to you, but I met so many people that weekend. And I think that was the first time I'd been to New Orleans, or maybe the second time.
Okay.
the second time I've been to New Orleans, and I just met so many new burlesque people and sideshow people I hadn't met before, and a lot of it because of the hootenanny. It was brilliant.
No, it's the Houdini because it's a special place because like things from my opinion is like burlesque is also falls under the umbrella of sideshow because that's where burlesque comes from is the old hoochie coochie shows with the girls on the tents on the side and so
And it's
I'm
got
always
such a shared history,
yeah
with this and sideshow.
so I always end up palling around with a lot of sideshow folk and burlesque folk and then weird musicians because there's a lot of punk like there's a lot of alternative music which I would also argue is kind of sideshowy too but that's just me. Uh, but yeah, so you are currently in England, but
Mhm.
you are making your way for some reason to America, to the United States, uh,
Yes.
like a crazy person. But that's okay. And you started this process back when we had a crazier head of state than what we currently have. So that's even makes it even more insane. It's-
It makes it even crazier. Yeah. No, the visa, the process of getting a visa and being able to work in the US legally is a crazy, drawn out, expensive, and long. It's a ridiculously red tape, bureaucratic process for a country built on immigration. You do not make it easy at all.
yeah, I think once we got through the world wars, they made it a bit more difficult, and then with the ages of like the Reaganomics and all that fun stuff, it just all increased in that sort of case. So
Well,
uh,
I was really
yeah,
lucky in the first instance that I got sponsored by Tamizdat, who are a non-profit based in Brooklyn, where you are actually, who believe in cross, cross country artistic sharing. I've forgotten the word right now. It's 2 a.m. But they have like a pro bono legal fund to help artists, like be that musicians, performers, spoken word writers or whatever. They have a pro bono fund to help complete the visa process. So I had that in progress prior to the pandemic, and
hmm
I had my interview scheduled for my visa interview. Actually, all got accepted just as the pandemic was kicking off, but I couldn't get to the embassy to have my actual interview and get my passport stamped
hmm
because which was crazy. And I ended up actually part of a group lawsuit suing Donald Trump because he'd signed this crazy. It signed some proclamation that banning entry for people that have been in the UK because of the pandemic, and the embassies were using that as an excuse not to give passport stamps. So not only did I start this during a crazier administration, I wanted to come so much I sued said administration.
um, I mean, I would say why, but I also know that when it comes to like making money and a living, that sort of stuff, that America's where it's at for a lot of stuff. So I get it. I mean, but still, I'm going. I mean, I kind of rather go to England, but I'm in New York, so I'm giving that a try. So
Well, I mean, it's a non-immigrant visa, so I'm not giving up any citizenship rights. It's
uh,
not like a forever permanent. I'm not throwing my tea into the harbour just yet.
just yet, yeah, I do know some expats who from England who basically that's how they started, and then now they are full citizenship here now. So
I mean,
uh,
the US is one of the few places where you can make a living as a performer, like especially places like New Orleans where you can work,
yeah,
nights a week. You can hustle. It won't be easy, but I figured it's good to give it a go.
yeah. I mean, where's what you head back? I mean, then like if they allow you to travel throughout the states anyways, then that makes it nice and
Exactly.
easy. So that's because if you can't get business all there, I mean, here in New York, I know several performers who work like who are able to do like 4 nights a week, on the
Mm.
regular. And that's like here, like we're still kind of pandemic-y, and they're getting on the regular like 3 to 4 nights a week. It's not huge money because people aren't going out as much, but the fact is that even now they're getting regular work once things in 2045 when things get back to normal again. uh, um, you know, that sort of stuff is already built in, so it's in
Exactly.
theory. And there are quite a few people down in New Orleans who are getting like 3 or 4 nights a week, or still.
Well, I'm not heading over until October. So, I'm either giving time for things to open up even more, or I'm giving time for more variants to develop. We'll see how well that plan worked. But
I
so
just
far, that's known.
either A, there's going to be tons of work because everything is as it should be finally, or B is that you're going to show up and all the other performers are dead, and then everybody's desperate for entertainment. So
And
either
it's
way, you
just
should succeed.
really,
Either way,
it's
you'll
just
succeed.
a post-apocalyptic New Orleans where all the showgirls. I'm just stepping over them and stealing costume pieces on my way to a stage.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, weirder things have happened.
For sure.
Well, at least I don't know. I'm sure probably back in the past, as far as like I'm sure
Plagues.
something very similar, like the plague times, or even like the turn of the century, and maybe turn of the century, 1900, like in like the Wild West. There's probably something crazy. Like there's probably some shit happening in like San Francisco. It's probably very similar.
Oh
Or
yeah, in fact, I remember watching I watched this YouTube channel called Ask a Mortician. This lady called Caitlin Doherty, and she does a lot of stuff about well, she talks a lot about funeral care and death, positive death and whatnot. But she also does like little blogs about various death events in history. And she did a really good one. I think it was probably about a pandemic that's maybe smallpox that specifically hit San Francisco. It was really interesting anyway.
yeah, smallpox, where we did vaccines and pretty much all but got rid of it until people
Yeah,
started complaining about vaccines, and then it started coming back because not everybody was using vaccines anymore.
yeah. And like for Americans, I'm like, people, this is probably the first and only time that you are going to be offered free healthcare. It's a free vaccine. Take it.
True story. Yeah, for myself, I was initially trying to be in the good egg, was making sure that people who needed it got it first. With the when I had the an immunocompromised wife when she was alive. I'm very conscious of that sort of stuff. So I go, all right, cool. I want to make sure they're taken care of before I try to, because like me, I'm the I get sick rarely. Like I get weird shit like, oh, I broke my toe, but that's a weird happenstance thing.
Yeah,
I'm
hardy
just
felt.
Yeah, I don't really get sick. I mean, I don't get sick very often, but I do occasionally. Usually, it's like because of food poisoning, less about uh, like some weird stuff. So I went, all right, cool. I'll just mask up, stay away from everybody, which is why I started doing all this sort of stuff as my way to see people because I'm going.
Mm.
I just can't stay here by myself. I'm a social creature. So when it had enough time, I had the chance to go, and I went to a place that had a drive-through vaccinations. Literally, as you drove up, rolled down your window, drove over to a parking lot, waited like 20 minutes. As long as nothing bad happened to you, go home. That's what I did.
The whole concept of drive-through still tickles me because it's like such an American concept. Like you have drive-through banks, drive-through pharmacies.
Yeah,
I mean,
liquor stores.
for years, the only drive-through I'd ever experienced in the UK was McDonald's. Like,
Yeah,
we recently got a drive-through Starbucks in my town, and that's still a novelty to me. But I do live in a tiny northern town.
okay. Well, that's it's like weird living here where I live at now. There technically is a McDonald's, Burger King, and a Wendy's, and none of them are drive-through at all. They're all walk-up
Oh,
places strictly, and it's like really weird. Like me, like living in Texas, where it's the land of drive-throughs. So it's been very very interesting to go with that sort of culture shock as far as going. All right, cool. I'm just gonna drive through the McDonald's and grab something because I just don't want to think about it. It's cheap.
yeah.
Drive up and I go, there's no drive through, and then there I go, oh, then there's no parking. Yeah,
Yeah,
because nobody
because
drives here.
you mean available in terms of available land space, it's not built for cars, is it really?
I could have
It's
been, but they chose not to go that way, which is fine. Don't get me wrong; it's perfectly fine. It's just like a thing I have to go. Oh, okay, this is the different. This is like in a lot of ways. I go, oh, it's very similar in a lot of stuff because big. So like I, lived in a big Texas town with Houston, but like and then I go, oh, this is the different spot. It's everything's commuter. It just and then uh, and it's like 18th that little corner shops everywhere, which is also a weird novelty to
oh,
me here too. So,
bodega. I love that word.
huh?
Bodega. I love that
Oh, the
word.
bodega. Yeah, the bodegas. Yeah, bodegas corner. Uh, I kind of
Well, it's
like
not,
the British. I kind of like going to the British kind of corner shop. I think that's kind of
yeah,
cool. If
yeah.
only
I
because there's.
love we. I suppose they're a bit of a dying breed now. They've been taken over a lot by like chains like Spar and Co-op and Tesco. But the British corner shop that's like part newsagents, part little convenience store. Yeah, no, they're really cool, and a lot of the time run by immigrant families, which is brilliant as well. Like, it's a whole generational thing that have come across and opened up these stores. Really, really cute neighborhood places.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed here. Like here, yeah, strictly, it's like somebody's family who's probably had this bodega for like 3 generations. That's what all this stuff is around here.
You always have a
Um,
cat.
I haven't like okay, so the ones I've been into have not had bodega cats, but that's also where I'm at. It may not be that sort of thing. Bodega cats are probably more prominent in probably like Queens,
Mm,
or like anything. Like I'm guessing, I don't know. It's like everything I'm basing off of is based off movies, so it's fine. Um, I don't know. It's been but I've had like a lot of weird like this had to become like literally like central casting sort of movies like when I first came here, I just come in to visit. I literally I got a cheap ticket. I was going to go see a friend's show. This was going to be my bucket list. This was back in May. I had no intention of moving to New York at the time. I literally, I flew into Baltimore, rode in with Hot Todd Lincoln, a sideshow performer, from Baltimore, and we drove into New York. We were staying at a friend's house, and so we were walking over to a restaurant, and we stopped at the local bodega because they had to go get something. So we're just hanging outside. And so literally this dude out in front, like a work vest and stuff like that, just had his arm propped up looking like that. Apparently had a friend walk by and he goes, "Hey, Carl, I think. Hey,
mm.
Carl, it's a beautiful fucking day." I mean, literally like out of central casting, like they cast this guy. What's the most stereotypical Brooklyn person? Because this is in Brooklyn. This is another part of Brooklyn, and all it happened. Like the guy goes, "What?" He goes, "It's a beautiful fucking day. It's a beautiful like we're just like like myself and like Todd and like Keita St. Cyr, who was I was staying with her and her boyfriend, and like we're like just going, are you seeing that right now?" And so we came out and like her boyfriend had to went in like he's Brooklyn born and bred like literally we're staying at like where his like we live right we're staying right by where his parents live, so like he's lived there pretty much his entire life. He goes, "Yeah, welcome to Brooklyn." He just looked at us, "Welcome to Brooklyn," and I went, "All right." I mean, like New York turned itself out that weekend, just like I had great time. And I went
That's
home.
fun.
I just did all right. I did the bucket list thing. I've been to New York. I've done the thing. Now what? And then a couple weeks later, I found out the guy had an extra room to rent in his house here, and so same cost it was going to have me living in Austin. So I went, guess I'm moving to New York.
Mm.
So
The first time I ever visited the US was, I think it was I think it was 1998, either 97 or 98. I visited
yeah,
New York. We actually stayed in New Jersey with friends.
yeah.
I visited my dad, and we used to get the Greyhound or the train into the city, and that was fun. It was like the beginning of The Sopranos, where he's driving
Woke
from the
up this
city.
morning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that was fun. New York was one of the first places I ever visited, and I had an experience like that. I mean, I was like a young teenager at the time. I think I was about 14, 15. And we got off the bus at Grand Central, picked up a coffee. I think one of the first times I'd ever like drank coffee in a to-go cup, like strong coffee with like syrup in it and stuff. I felt so grown up. Walked past this dude. He's like smoking a cigarette, talking to someone. And he's like, forgive my terrible New York accent, but he's like, oh yeah, what I could do with now is a good blow job. I'm like, oh, great. I am not in Kansas anymore, and this is inappropriate for my age.
No, that sounds like New York for the '90s, from what I understand. So yeah,
That sounds like Grand Central in the '90s, which I probably should have been paying more attention to my surroundings to stay safe.
You're having an adventure. It's fine. It's
No,
you made it through okay, pretty much unscathed. Very little in the ways of emotional scarring ish. Although now you're a burlesque performer, so some scarring. I don't know. I don't know. No, it's like actually weirdly enough, it's like England is on my list as which to go to. Apparently, my father's mother. Okay, my father's mother. She is her family was an immigrant from England, like the London area. I don't know a lot about that because, like, when my parents got divorced, I really didn't talk to that side of the family pretty much ever again.
My family didn't like that, so I don't know very much about my history. But I do know that when I visited Ellis Island, I found a long lost relative with the same surname from my hometown that came over in 1904.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
So I have long lost relatives over there somewhere.
Yeah, no, I think the family name was Sanders or Saunders, and like they're out of the London area. So that's all I know. But also,
Well,
that's not a like it's also not a terribly uncommon name. So it could be a who knows over there.
Well, no, it makes sense. I mean, if you're a white guy in America, you're going to trace your history back. It's probably going to come from the UK or another part of Western Europe.
No, yeah, it's basically it's English, German, Swede. That's pretty much that's literally it is all it is right there. My grandfather, my father's father, his parents were part of the Swedish consulate and of Cuba back in the early 1900s, and so he was actually born in Cuba, my grandfather, and lived for like the first 6 years of his life there.
I've always fancied visiting Cuba.
Oh, I would love to go. And they've started opening up stuff, kind of, as far as touristy, like very, very limited touristy stuff. And like I've always been fascinated by it only because of this weird family connection. And apparently there were a lot of Swedish who like actually lived there for a long time, especially back in the early 1900s. So it'd be weird to show up and like meet some old man. He goes, yeah, I remember this little tiny kid named we called Paco, and he's like a little blonde haired kid. I go, that's probably my grandfather. Probably. I don't know. But yeah, no, it's just weird. But I will be like, but on the other side, I would just love to go to England because I figured it interesting to go. And I don't like to do like the touristy stuff. I like to go to London, but I would go to London to go look at the non-Londony things, like hang out at the weird bars and pubs. I'd most likely be interested in seeing what the music scene was, less about Buckingham Palace and all that bullshit.
There's a lot of good history stuff to see in London, like
that too. I mean,
there is so much history and so much nightlife to explore. I'm not a massive fan of London in and of itself because I'm from the north of the UK, and London I find is, I suppose it's like people from other parts of the US that can't stand New York City because it's busy and it's dirty and the people are always in a rush and everybody's rude and nobody holds a door. Whereas I'm from the north and we all talk to each other and we're all quite friendly, and a pint of beer costs £4, whereas in London it'll be like £9.70. So
well, that end, yeah, I get that. Cause, I know I get that on that end as far as here too. So yeah, like I grew up in small town, and then I went to the big cities. And I like the hustle. I like being around people, but I also I also do like the small town pricings. To be fair, so like yeah, coming
It's
like
fine.
even like Texas versus like New York, there's not a huge sticker shock because living in major cities there. But even still, as I go, oh yeah, yeah, for a little whiskey on the rocks. I go, and I'm fine with doing well. I don't get fancy like going to a new place, like especially if it's a dive bar. I go, all right, cool, do well, whiskey on the rocks. I go, yeah, cool, it's $8. I'm going, wow. Like any place in the South is like at worst 5 for well. So I go, all right, cool, man. I will have my one whiskey here.
You've got to find the big city that you like as well. I mean, I do. London's okay.
No, it's like one of those places I wanted to go to kind of see how it was, and then like, but the reason I went to London is I want to go to that one bar where like the Sex Pistols played, where it had all the musicians of the early '80s. They basically met there, like there was this one
Uh,
show that Sex Pistols played, and pretty much the audience was filled with people who made big bands afterwards. Like Susie Sue was there, and like all these crazy people. Like it's just like the guys from Joy Division, and just like they're all there, just kind of seeing the show. And they went, "Yeah, we can do that." And they all made all these bands, and so I want to go to that space. It's kind of go, oh, I'm sure it's like something else completely by now, but it's still be kind of cool to that.
no, I get that. I did a show. Where did I
That's the
do
history I'm
it?
fascinated by.
I did a show. I think I think it was in Middlesbrough. At a really old venue. It was like essentially it had been an old music hall, and back in the day, Charlie Chaplin had performed there, which I thought was massively cool.
That's cool too. I mean, I'd be down for that too. I like it's all entertainment stuff, and there's like some really cool like old vaudeville and sideshow people from like they're like strictly English that I like I discover, which is pretty cool. Which I'd be down to go check that stuff out, and then just like check out stuff like that. So like I had my friend Nick is from like Manchester, and he always like talking it up every once in a while. Even though I go, all right, cool, I'll go check out Manchester. Once again, it's just, but I'd be going to go, all right, this is where Nick grew up. All right, let me check out the '90s music scene stuff that happened
Yeah,
here. That sort of stuff.
Manchester. I know I enjoy Manchester. That's like about an hour's drive for me. I always tend to fly in and out of Manchester Airport because that's the
Yeah.
biggest one to me. I used to love Oasis back in the day. In terms of 90s music that came out of Manchester, Oasis were the band that I really liked.
Oasis was all right. As far as the like Blur, also like Damon Albarn came from that way too, and I'm a bigger like I liked Oasis fine. I was a bigger fan of like Damon Albarn and like Blur and stuff like that. Then
But
things like the Happy
going back to
Mondays, also
yeah,
from there.
the
I think
Blur
the
were
suit,
from down south. Going back to what we were saying about
yeah,
like the north versus like London. Damon Albarn were from down south, and that whole band met at art school. They were seen as being a little bit poncy.
yeah.
They had some great songs.
Oh, that's true.
And
That's true. Because like that was the big fight, just because
yeah,
Oasis
that was
always hate,
the
and
big thing.
their big insult to like bands like Blur and stuff like that. It goes, they're fucking students. That was always there. I go, oh, that's hysterical. Like
Whereas like
that is their
the
insult.
Gallagher's were just like a couple of scroats from Manchester that were like on the dole, unemployed, playing guitar. Um, Literally, yeah. So it was a whole rivalry thing. But yeah, I love the Happy Mondays. Who else from there? The Inspiral Carpets at the time. And then you had all the I mean, I'm too young for this, I missed this, but like the whole Happy House rave thing that went on in Manchester as well.
I knew of it. Just like that was like the band here, like because that all happened in the early mid '90s, if I remember correctly. Uh, and I was in college at the time, so that's how I discovered a lot of this stuff. Is because I went to school. I went to liberal arts school, like in a college town. It was like a really hip college town, and I worked at the record store. And so I discovered a lot of it, like some like the bigger stuff, like Oasis, Blur, and stuff like that, because they crossed over. But like the smaller stuff, like Happy Mondays, you had to know who those people were. They weren't big. Uh,
Yeah, in America. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, definitely not in America. Or like then like the Soup Dragons and like things like that. So like these smaller like things that like it became like this weird rabbit hole. People go down this rabbit hole to discover these sort of things. But if you just step to all right, cool, Oasis and the song Two Guys, and they just kind of left it as that, then they wouldn't discover the other stuff. But no, I loved all that stuff. I mean, I remember all the Happy House stuff because that's, I mean, like Happy Mondays kind of danced with that a little bit, especially the lead singers whose name escapes me because
Oh, Sean Ryder.
Sean Ryder,
And
that's it.
Sean Ryder, he's a dude. And then they had Bez, who was effectively just a dancer on stage with maracas.
Yeah, that's also the weird thing about like English, like some of the English bands that were like that. I mean, that's what Prodigy was. I mean, Prodigy is really just the dude who spins the records. Everybody else in that quote unquote band were just backup dancers. Which people didn't realize, which was kind of fun.
That
No,
was
I
really
actually
fun.
I like back in the '90s. I was like the British scene was really good for digging music, so I was really digging it. And so that's the other thing. It's like going to England. I'm going to check that stuff out. I'd even go check out Birmingham because I know they had a really big like metal scene and things like that. And go. All right, cool. This is where Ozzy's house was. That's where Cannibal Corpse got started. That I would do that sort of weird ass tour, all while going to every bar I could because that's in the end that's
Bristol's
what I like doing.
Bristol's quite good for music and arts and stuff as well. Portishead, from obviously from near
Oh, that's
Bristol, and
right. Oh, fuck, I love that band.
I think Tricky from Bristol, and what's the big one that's escaping me? Oh, it'll come to me after. But we have got a lot of really. I mean, we've not even touched on Liverpool.
That's true. Well,
A lot.
Liverpool has their obvious one. Actually, believe it or not, the place I want to go, the place I would want to go, but I can't go because I would be a fucking stalker, is Brighton, because that's where Nick Cave lives.
Yeah,
it's And so I would
yeah.
both want to go there, but I can't go there because I would totally be a stalker with the entire
Feel
time.
like just outside his house, like hello.
He's like one of my favorite performers of all time. So it's like literally what I would do.
Just down the road from me is Sheffield, which is home of, I mean, Def Leppard, which is like one of the biggest rock bands of the 80s ever.
Yeah,
Um, Arctic Monkeys, Pulp, Joe Cocker.
I love. Man, that's another band that didn't get enough play. Was fucking Pulp. Pulp's like Jarvis Cocker. It's an amazing band. I always liked them a lot.
Oh, Jarvis is a legend. Did you hear about the thing he did at an award show with Michael Jackson back in the 90s?
Uh, no.
So we have this thing in the UK called the Brit Awards, which is
Oh,
like a big
I know.
industry.
Yeah, I know of them, but yeah.
And I forget which year it was, but Michael Jackson was there and he was doing Earth Song, and he had all these kids on stage, and he was doing this messiah thing in his white shirt and being like, nah, and just being totally ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
And Jarvis was like, this is just very stupid. This is just, he's just being a dick. Jarvis ran up on stage, mooned at the audience, and then ran off again. And Jarvis is like a comical person to look at anyway. He looks like he
Yeah.
was drawn by a child. He's all arms and legs with his glasses and like a brown corduroy suit. So it's just to behold. Oh, it caused uproar in the newspapers. But absolutely legendary.
I don't know. I'll have to track that down because now that just makes me dig him even more.
It's absolutely on YouTube somewhere.
I'm sure.
But
I'm definitely gonna deep dive into that shit and probably post it someplace because that sounds amazing.
Radio now. He does Radio 2 every now and again, like guest spots, and he plays some really, really interesting music. He's a bit, and I love his voice as well. His voice makes me feel very at home because it's a really local accent to mine.
For those people who don't know who Jarvis Cocker is, here's a parlance for everybody who might enjoy now. All right, so in the Harry Potter films, there's the fourth film with the Goblet of Fire, and like they're having like their dance, and they're having like the posh thing, and then they have the band play. The guy singing that, who wrote the music for the Weird Sisters, is Jarvis Cocker. So
I didn't know that because I don't really do Harry Potter, so I had no idea Jarvis was even involved.
Oh yeah, it's like one of those weird sort of things. It's like I enjoyed it for what they were, but even so, I was going, all right, cool. That's probably like It's like that, and then there was they did the Great Expectations movie that had like Ethan Hawke and like Robert De Niro. There's a couple of pulp tunes in that soundtrack. It's an amazing, like, that Great sound Expectation soundtrack's amazing. Came out like '98, I think, if I remember correctly. Uh, Gwyneth Paltrow, Ethan Hawke, Robert De Niro, and it's pretty much Great Expectations, which is, to be fair, it's not a great story, but I still it's a really good soundtrack. Um,
Now, when people ask me where I'm from or where my accent's from, I don't really do Harry Potter, but I always refer them to Game of Thrones. I always say, like, well, if I was in Game of Thrones, my family the Starks, and my accent is effectively Ned Stark's, but just like about 10 miles east. So
it's true. You do live in a place where literally is 5 miles away. People's accents change so drastically.
fine. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. I mean, in my town, you can tell whether somebody's from like and this is just a tiny little town, you can tell whether somebody's from the Barnsley side of it, the Sheffield side of it, or like the Rotherham side of it. You can pick up on accents so much, which I find linguistics and accents I found fascinating. Especially being in America and hearing accents, so like different accents so much, because when I was in New York, you definitely hear like the Italian and the Irish kind of twang, and also a little bit of Cockney stuff, but not too much Cockney because that is Australian. But then if you go to Boston, you just hear the Irish. But New Orleans is interesting because New Orleans is effectively a New York accent, but just kind of slowed down and southern.
With a little French thrown in.
With a little language thrown.
Yeah, with a little French thrown in. And then you can go to Texas and you hear people talk like this, which is much different than going with a nice Southern accent, which is very different, because it's just about where the vocal. I went to
Where it comes from.
where, because it's like, because Texas is all up here in the nose and the head, versus like Southern, which is coming much more from the throat, like you're like trying to swallow molasses. So that's always like it. No, I always found accents very, very interesting, and
I love it. One of the things when I was a kid, when I grew up, I either wanted to be Indiana Jones, or like a voiceover artist for Looney Tunes.
Oh yeah, both of those sound amazing. I think at some point I probably had those dreams too. I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've still not given up on the Indiana Jones thing, because I took up tracking, as a sideshow art, purely because of Indiana Jones.
Well, I mean, that's now you just got to find some weird like undiscovered thing, and then boom, done. And then yell at somebody saying that it needs to be in a museum, and then you've filled all the markers as far as Indiana Jones. Whip cracking, finding a weird thing, and telling people it belongs in a museum. Indiana Jones.
Done.
Yeah.
I've already got the eccentric parent. We're sorted.
There you go. Yeah, I think you're 90% there. So that's.
I'm out here achieving childhood dreams, people.
There you go. Yeah. For those people tuning in, watching I've got broadcasting both this on Facebook and on Twitch to make it nice and easy for the broading stuff like that. And so people, this is Pinky Deville, the amazing burlesque performer, all the way from England, Great Britain, from the north side apparently, not far from Sheffield, and then who is soon going to be making her way over to the U.S. If you want to see what she does and everything like that, if you look right underneath her name, you actually see her Instagram handle, Pinky_Deville, and then of course her website, www.pinkydeville.com, where you can see all the other fun stuff. Great and lovely person. There's no, I think, we became like super fast friends, which I'm really happy about.
Yeah, this is one of the things where we just started chatting and moving.
Yeah. Because I know sometimes this is like not against you or anything like that. But I've noticed because I'll go when I'm talking to especially performers, especially burlesque performers, and I'm a dude, and I know that, and so I go up and I go, "Oh, how's it going?" Like some performers go, "Oh yes, wall," and I try to be the, "Hey, I I'm just me. You're just somebody. Don't I mean it's like I don't care, but it's like one of those guys go, I have no interest in people other than the conversation we're having. I don't
Mhm.
I don't presume anything. I just went, all right, cool. You seem cool. Let's chat. That's all I care about. I'm respectful and I don't assume anything. And so, but yeah, you were very nice and warm almost from the get go, and I really appreciated that because me at that time, weirdly enough, was at that time I was not a performer. Um, I
No,
just
we're a fan.
yeah, I produced one show a week and a half earlier. It was like my first real show thing to do that. And I went to the Hootenanny as kind of like to support friends and kind of a it was like a release sort of weekend because of my own life sort of situations. And so, but I still that's always my main thing. To go, all right, cool. We're just like we had great time chatting and stuff like that. And then going forward, we ended up doing so. Weirdly enough, is the last time I was in New Orleans. Not okay. The last time, like the last Hootenanny. I mean, I would say the last time I was in New Orleans because you weren't there, and you weren't there the other time too. But the last time I went to the Hootenanny was back in 2020, right before everything shut down. Um, I was talking to. I was talking about possibly being a part of your birthday show because you were supposed to be in town by then.
Yeah, I was supposed to be in town on my birthday, and that got very, very cancelled in 2020.
Yeah, so it was like literally I was in talks. Like I basically go, oh yeah, our birthday's coming up. You should come out and do something for it. I go, definitely, I will definitely come and do it. Just keep me in contact. And then like literally like a week and a half later, everything shut down.
Mm,
So I went, well, that's
yeah,
not happening.
yeah, and
Uh,
we got banned from leaving the country, and then I had to sue Donald Trump.
that's a good little that's a good little notch you can say that. So like it's a good thing. Like people like it's like the when they like they always sometimes you go to places they have those little icebreaker questions like give 3 facts about yourself sort of things. You could like and then what they do is like you'll mix it up and then like for the big huge group icebreakers and they'll pull out the things they go, all right, this person here has sued Donald Trump. Who has done that? And they get to, and that's always fun to do that sort of
No,
stuff.
that is going to be a good one for when I've if I give up the show, I go back to the corporate job and they do those stupid icebreaker
Yeah, that's what
things.
I mean. Yeah. I did mine was always I used to be a hair model and so that always weirds people out because they go, "What?" I go, "Yeah." I did hair modeling for a little bit of time in college. Um, and so they always expect some girl to get up like that and I go I'd like and even by the time I did it like this is like it is but I had like short like they only go all right cool let's do it and I got like my hair was short by the time I did those things but when I was a hair model my hair was down to here and
Mm.
I've got a big mane of hair so and I still do I mean it's
Yeah, you've
I
got like a lot of hair, haven't you?
yeah like literally it's like right yeah I've got an undercut but yeah it's like I mean, I mean, I don't talk to my dad anymore, but when I saw him, even at his mid late 70s, he still has a full head of hair. So I'm, I'm good. Uh,
My fun fact tended to be, I mean, if it was appropriate in the workplace, I tended to I have had a pee in the toilet that George Michael was arrested in.
that's a good one. Yeah.
Because they expect it to be a man as well because it was a men's restroom.
Also, it's I always like doing like the things I'm not expecting. I can't remember what the others. I did a couple others. I can't remember what them because now I've got much weirder stories than what I
Oh,
had then. Uh, I mean,
I
I still had some
definitely, I don't.
like in those snippets that you want corporate America to know about. I go, all right, cool, hair modeling. Uh,
Yeah, that's a good one for corporate America. I do not miss um, team building exercises, icebreakers, all that kind of corporate rubbish. I do not miss that one bit.
no, it's yeah. I'm doing everything I can to not have that sort of work here. Just doing job hunting at the moment. And I can. So what's weird is people go, "What do you want to do? What can you do?" I go, "What I can do and what I want to do are two different things.
Hmm.
Like I can do sales. I don't want to do them because I mean I'll do sales if it's the right product and things are the right thing. But it's like literally is like 9 times 10 for those big high end sales jobs. It's soul crushing, and I just
I mean,
life's too short.
it's bad in the UK, but American sales jobs, geez, Louise.
No, it's
Um,
horrible, and it's like my other thing is I go I know I could do well and make a lot of money in it, but how to do it right is really shitty on the people you're selling to, and I don't think people realize that.
no, I sold insurance for years. In
Yeah, it's
well,
just yeah.
before the financial crash, I sold insurance years, and it's horrible.
Yeah, it's horrible. And then I had another friend of mine. She goes, you know what? If you want, you can just start catfishing people and use my pictures. I go, that's also I can't do that either because I'm not. That's horrible. I don't want to.
That's an
I don't.
awful suggestion. Who made you a
I mean,
career advisor?
I basically. I think she just liked the idea. I think sorry, they like the idea that I would basically try to create a better life than what they were living. So so it was fun to let them be vicarious in that respect. And I go, well, I'm happy to like spitball with you as far as how to help yourself or at least make yourself appear so, but you don't need me to do all this. You go, why don't you just do that? Then they go, well, it's still me. I go, oh, man, I mean, okay. I feel bad about trying to bilk somebody out of money just because they think I'm somebody else. I'd rather them see me to my face and think I'm somebody else. Weirdly enough, because that's why I'm a performer. Uh, but that's a different sort of thing. That we've created this social contract that you're here
Mm-hmm.
to be quote unquote entertained, uh, rather than give me money for that quote unquote said entertainment.
I
Uh,
mean, I think it's that thing as well. So you've just moved to Coney Island, which is just perfect for a sideshow performer in terms of like a home.
kind of, well,
So
yeah.
you can give them,
Sorry.
you want to give that life a little chance. You can always go back on sales and do corporate America job. I mean, that's always going to be there. Capitalism is always going to be there in the background. But I'm in the same position where I've got this opportunity to, you know, work in the US now. I can, as a performer, as the thing that I love to do, not as the thing that will necessarily just make me money, but the thing that I want to do. So I'm going to
Yeah.
give that a shot while I can. And if years from now I have to fall on the sales and do the corporate America stuff, corporate England stuff, that's
Yeah.
fine. Gave it a shot.
Yeah. I mean, it's I like I when I started doing all this stuff because I like 20 in 2017 I got a really harsh lesson about life's too short, and so
Mm.
that's why I went, all right, cool. It's like once I figured out what I wanted to do, I was very good. All right, cool. This is what I'm gonna do. It's never been about money for me when doing all this stuff or my life in general has never been about money. I grew up poor,
Yeah.
not poor. I grew up like upper, lower middle class. That whole valley right there is where I pretty much grew up.
No,
As far as like
that
that.
that doesn't mean much to me because in America, your class system it's based on it's really weird. It's based on your class system is based on money, whereas traditionally in the UK, your class system was based on class. So
Yeah, no, I
you'd
get it.
either be
It's yeah, everything because America. Well, in the end, everything's about money in America. But as far as as far as it's like I grew up in a small town, so like for American, I have to use this for American standards as far as things like that. I don't know the British equivalents. Now, while I never went to bed hungry, a lot of the foods we had were very much of the what we call poor. I don't want to say poor food, but not even poor quality. It's like it's geared around to it's like that small amount of money make it stretch the longest amount as
Mhm.
possible for foodstuffs, or it's like I didn't get brand new clothes, all that sort of stuff. It's like weird, like it's like that whole thing. It's like there was we like I didn't have a computer. I did not own a computer until I was in college. That sort of stuff. Because we just like other places, that's just how it was. And so like
I mean, funding aside, generationally as well. Like we didn't have a computer in the house until I was like 15, 16, and I'm like the last generation that grew up, I think, without internet access literally all the time. Like I have had like a non-electrical childhood plus an online childhood.
oh, like I had a no, I grew up. Basically like you took Stranger. I got rid of the weird supernatural stuff from Stranger Things. That was my childhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Fair. No, I mean mine was.
that's literally that's how I grew up, was like that. Except just get rid of the under, the upside down and all that shit. Just the rate, like the kids living their life. That was how I grew up.
Yeah. Same, but with worse weather and no mind flayers.
Yeah. Well, mine's small town Texas, so it's like this the weather got weird. Oh, Texas, well, it's just weird weather. Uh, but yeah, so once again, I just never, money has never been a driving factor for anything I do. I go, this is the thing. Like now I get to the point where I go, this is the thing I want to do. I'll figure it out how to make it work. Sometimes as I'm doing it, which is what I'm doing now. I basically went,
Mm-hmm.
here's an opportunity. I went, all right. I did a quick weighing pros and cons. I already have like 4 different fallbacks in case. It's like I always think about it, but literally I go, if like this doesn't work, I can go here, 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 and still be fine. Like when I decided I was moving out of Texas, which I was going to be moving out of Texas come September anyways, and just this opportunity was a little quicker than I was anticipating. It was like here or like Portland, Oregon. Like the Portland, Oregon was like the one that was probably most likely, just because I had a friend there.
Yeah.
I had a friend there who was like willing to put me up for as long as I wanted.
Going back to what you were saying about like going, oh, if this doesn't work, do. One of the burlesque legends that I was close to before she passed, Satan's Angel, she was like an original burlesque performer in the 60s, 70s.
Amazing performer.
I miss her so much. Like every day I still kind of expect her to send me a voice message going, these bitches out here saying that I'm dead. No, I'm not. Well, she made a sound she was from Texas. She wasn't. But she really impressed to me every time we had a really frank conversation about always make sure be a performer, do your best, reach for the stars, do me proud, but make sure you've always got a backup plan. Don't pour everything into showbiz and end up like me, where you don't know, you've not got something to back you up. Make sure you can go do a corporate job if you want to, or you have something. So I bear that in mind a lot as well.
Well, it's like, but like a lot of times, like sometimes people go, well, you just decided stuff quickly. I go, well, it's not quickly. It's just that I literally, I assess the situation as quickly as possible. And I go, all right, cool. It's like 60% good. I'm going to go ahead and jump at it and I'll figure out the other 40 if I can. If I can't, then once again, not money, but I think everything I do is not money driven. Like I do these shows, I did it mostly because I had nothing else to do, and that's half the reason. Second reason is like I also went to school for like theater and film and all this sort of tech stuff. So I went, all right, cool. Let me learn how to do it, and then I get to talk to people that I can't talk to normally, like us, like now. That's why I did it. I did like I do this because I love to do it.